Yeah.
Oh, I
So
wanted to ask you about this. So, you sound like you're familiar with the UFC. So when these fighters talk about using supplements like creatine specifically that is mixed in China, and they talk about how it could have been from a machine that previously had steroids or something else in there, and that could get
mhm.
contaminated, or they could test hot because they were just taking cheap creatine. Is that factual at all? Is that potentially real?
Yeah, it is because I've actually a long time ago in some of our like original batch tests of like certain samples, we'd see that some of these labs, they would have, even the labs, sometimes they have trace amounts of residual shit they've tested in their machine that then pops, which is
Mm.
like, obviously, I don't know where the UFC specifically is getting their analysis done, but I've seen labs that I've paid myself to have third party testing done be inconsistent in their results with the exact same supplement.
Yeah.
So like I've paid to get this stuff done before too, and it's like it's definitely possible to have like minuscule amounts spike on something. But I think a
Uh,
lot of the times it's a cover up for like trying to get away with something because these athletes are so aware of the risks of these supplements that it's like, would you be so dumb as to use some random company's creatine when your fucking career depends on you not getting popped? Like,
all
I
I'm
think,
hearing is undefeated, undisputed.
yeah. So like
Matt Hamill
for
beat him.
me, I would, if I was a fighter, that would be like, to me, that seems like a cop out for you just didn't like circumvent the testing very well in most cases.
TJ Dillashaw's in it. I heard TJ Dillashaw talk about popping hot. He popped hot for EPO. And
Yeah.
something about EPO I think is particularly difficult to deny. Like there's no people don't accidentally pop hot for EPO. So he just owned it. But to hear him talk about how well he was tested and all the different levels of, I don't know what they all were, but like different levels of chemicals in his bloods to make sure that his training was going well. They used it as a way to monitor overtraining. And it's like there is no, the level of testing he did seemed like that of someone who was taking lots of steroids and gear.
I'll tell you who's not testing right now, and that's USADA. USADA is not testing these guys right now because of the Corona thing.
Didn't
Yeah,
consider
it's time to
that.
juice up. Time to juice
Yeah,
up,
everyone's
boys. Let's go,
tossing
John.
their faces
Let's
up
go.
right now.
Oh, he's way ahead of you, Kyle.
Oh, I hope so. I hope I don't care. I want John on juice. That's best John.
Maybe he'll get a
So
takedown again.
a little bit of UFC talk. I don't know if you saw. April 18th is now canceled. 249 is just completely scrapped now. Not happening.
I thought
Yeah.
they swapped the main card for.
They did. They did. And then
Private Island.
this is very up. This is like as of an hour.
I choose
or
to
two.
believe Tony Ferguson's afraid of Gaethje.
Tony Ferguson isn't afraid of a fucking bulldozer. He'd be dropping elbows on a forklift. That man doesn't care. But they were going to do it apparently at a tribal casino type place in Cali, and the higher ups at Disney as well as ESPN got in touch with Dana and said, no, you're not. Don't do it. Rose Namajunas had already dropped out of the card, like as of yesterday or the day before. So it was a diminishing card, although it was still good. It was still a really good card. But yeah, that card is not going to happen. Everything's getting pushed. And of course, Dana White has rented Fight Island, which is literally the premise of like that Bruce Lee movie and Mortal Kombat and all of my favorite like make-believe fight shit. He's renting a goddamn private island and they're building a facility to host the fights in the future.
This might be my version of the perfect outcome. Is Ferguson back to Khabib on Fight Island? Or is he still with Gaethje?
Well, Khabib is pretending like he can't leave Russia, so probably Gaethje.
I think Gaethje stands a real chance of beating Ferguson, and that would end the Ferguson Khabib matchup, and I don't want that.
I don't want that either, but I agree. I mean, anything's possible. He's definitely got a puncher's chance, and that's kind of how he rolls. He put it best himself. You know, either I KO this guy in the first or the second, or I lose in the fourth or the fifth. You know, I think that's pretty accurate. You know, nobody beats Tony's cardio, and Gaethje has not been training for a 5-round fight since like last November or something, like Tony has. So yeah.
What was Khabib's excuse? He's quarantined, or what is the problem there?
He doesn't honestly have a good excuse, but his excuse that I keep hearing is it's harder to leave Russia than they say.
So
and then like every report I see says, "Oh yeah, you can just get a private flight," but he's like, that's harder than they say it is. And it's like, which part? Packing or?
I'm a Khabib fan, and even looking at it through that lens, his excuse has been like evolving. There's been a couple different ones, and it's been an inconsistent message. And it's hard to walk away from that thinking that he really, really wishes he was fighting.
Yeah, he's not hungry to fight Tony Ferguson in the sort of like scrappy.
So he
like,
might be sane.
Well, first I'm going to go into the Czech Republic, and then from there I can get a travel visa to this neighboring country, and from there I can book passage on it. Like no,
passage.
He's not like digging and scraping and clawing to get there the same way. I bet if they told Tony Ferguson, like, look, you can fight in Dagestan, he'd be like, all right, well, how are we going to get me there? Maybe there's a cannon you could shoot me out of. What about Tesla? Can that guy take me up into space and I could just
Here's the thing. Everyone's saying Khabib's afraid of Tony. And I don't think that's true. I do think that he feels like this whole foul-up situation has caused him not to be the best version of him, and that's who he wants to face Tony as. Khabib's not afraid of anyone. Khabib has tried to take on Daniel Cormier while he was currently the heavyweight champion of the world. Khabib has jumped into a crowd to take on a team of professional fighters after beating the fuck out of Conor McGregor. He says, I got 5 more rounds in me. I'll go after these 6 guys.
Khabib hide on that bus.
Khabib had... It wasn't his bus.
Yeah, what a bitch.
Khabib has gone after anyone anytime, and he was not afraid of Conor, as proven by the fact that he choked Conor the fuck out like a little bitch he is. So Khabib is not scared of Tony Ferguson, but he did seem to dodge him, and it's hard to paint that any other way. No, but that's way... Here, I've got a question for Derek. They say there is no magic pill that causes you to lose weight. I want your opinion on that, because I would like to buy such a pill.
Ooh, meth or cocaine.
Oh, like actual fat loss. Yeah, there's things that are pretty intense. Like, have you ever heard of DNP before?
Tell me more about this
I
DNP.
Not, but I'm taking notes.
I don't recommend taking
How do you spell DNP?
It's like, okay, so it's like 2,4-dinitrophenol, and this stuff was used in explosives in World War. And
you're not dissuading me.
Basically, they found that when the people were making the bombs or whatever, their body temperatures were increasing substantially, and some of them overheated and died. And then they took this and marketed it as a fat loss aid, because what it does is it cranks your metabolic rate through the roof, and it basically self-induces like a fever. So
Taylor, are you sold? I'm sold.
I'm sold.
No, like, don't do it. Trust me.
Okay.
But basically,
but where would I not buy it?
it's hard to get. It's harder to get than steroids now.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. But basically, it's like, what guys do is it increases their energy expenditure so much, but they feel so shitty because they're so run down from how much their body's burning. They'll take it, sit at home in front of a fan, and just like lose fat and just fucking.
Dude, that sounds,
it sounds like they're melting.
Rich.
You could
Like
be a
a
DNP
joint.
salesman, because this is outstanding. What
No,
about
but
playing?
get excited about it. Basically, you take this pill, sit, and lose weight.
Could I
You
play
feel
Escape
like
from
dog shit
Tarkov
while
while
you
losing
do it.
weight? Because
I'm sure you feel fucking horrible.
I can
So
play
what-
video games 12 hours a day.
I've
and if